Coming up on Network Africa. Nigeria approves use of AstraZeneca vaccine to fight COVID-19. Senegal receives its first shipment of the Chinese Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine. Plus, Somalia tries to end election stalemate as President Mohamed Farmajo calls for a meeting in the capital, Mogadishu. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin here in Nigeria, where the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has approved the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine to fight COVID-19. AstraZeneca vaccine was recently approved by the World Health Organization for emergency use, and NAFDAC says its safety committee has carried out an evaluation of the vaccine after it got a dossier a week ago to affirm its safety and efficacy for Nigerians. NAFDAC Director General Professor Mojisola Adeyeye says there are 3 additional vaccines undergoing evaluation and that the evaluation on AstraZeneca shows that the vaccine is effective against the UK variant of the virus, which has been reported in Nigeria.
This is to announce that our first COVID vaccine, AstraZeneca Oxford COVID-19 vaccine, also called Covishield, has just been granted emergency use authorization by NAFDAC. The emergency use listing will allow Nigeria to receive the first batch of the vaccine from COVAX facility within weeks, subject to approval by NAFDAC. The recommendation for emergency use authorization of COVID-19 vaccine from AstraZeneca or through Serum Institute, it is also called Covishield, was based on rigorous scientific considerations as summarized below. 1, vaccine quality. We have to ascertain that the vaccine has quality. We also looked at vaccine safety and efficacy. This is extremely important because safety and efficacy are premium to us as regulatory agency, NAFDAC. Our goal is to safeguard the health of our people. NAFDAC received the AstraZeneca Oxford COVID-19 vaccine dossier from Serum Institute of India on February 10, 2021, which was last week.
A group of students in Nigeria have built a robot they hope can one day help hospitals remotely treat COVID-19 patients. The machine, wrapped in Ankara prints, can help take temperatures, transport medicine, and also allow medical workers to communicate with patients via a webcam and screen.
The robot is a remote-controlled cabinet on wheels, decked out with a vibrant floral pattern and dubbed MyRobot. In a demonstration, a school nurse loads MyRobot with medicine and, using a controller and goggles to see through a camera, trundles the machine through a corridor and into a mock isolation room to scan a student's forehead for her temperature.
We tried to figure out a solution to that particular problem because without the healthcare workers, who would be the people taking care of COVID-19 patients? So MyRobot was born because we were looking for a way to reduce the physical contact between healthcare workers and infected COVID-19 patients.
But MyRobot, which took about 3 months to build, is still in its early days. During the demonstration, The isolation room door had to be left open for it, and it can only carry medication, so patients would self-administer while a nurse watches over the camera. David Adeniyi is a teacher overseeing the robotics team. He says the students hope to make MyRobot commercially available one day.
We are working on upgrading of MyRobot to meet up to international standard, whereby when you see it, you can put your money on it and buy it.
For the students, the robot's use will not stop at the coronavirus. One doctor at an isolation and treatment center in Abuja praises the innovation.
Getting to hear patients' complaints, deliveries of certain medications, and limiting the duration of time and the frequency that health workers have to be with patients like COVID-19 patients at this time. So yes, it's ingenious, it's useful, it's something that I think should receive a lot of support.
The robotics team at the Glisten International Academy in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, started out trying to build MyRobot by collaborating online, but eventually had to come together to finish the project in their lab.
Away from Nigeria, Senegal has received 200,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine from Chinese company Sinopharm. President Macky Sall said the government bought the vaccine and did not wait to receive doses from the World Health Organization's COVAX scheme, which aims to make it easier for developing nations to buy them. Frontline health workers, the elderly and people with underlying health conditions are going to be the first in line for the shot. Mr. Sall also adds that Senegal aimed to get another 6.5 million doses in the coming weeks to widen its vaccination campaign. The country has seen a spike in COVID-19 cases and deaths in recent weeks to date. The country has recorded 31,771 confirmed cases and 769 deaths. Kenya's oldest logistics firm, Mitchell Courts, has set up a $25 million facility at the main Nairobi airport to process perishable cargo, including temperature-sensitive COVID-19 vaccines. South Africa's health ministry is issuing tenders to store the distributed shots. Now, the rollout of vaccines is offering a lifeline for some companies that were hard hit by the pandemic.
A leading logistics executive says Kenya's main airport in Nairobi will find it easy to switch from handling fruit to importing vaccines because it already has extensive cold storage. Farm commodities such as fresh fruit and vegetables, which must be kept cold before being loaded onto planes at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, are among Kenya's main exports.
The fortunate thing about Jomo Kenyatta, it has the biggest capacity within the East Africa region, even including South Africa, because of the nature of our trade. We send in a lot of horticulture to Europe. Those horticulture facilities are refrigerated facilities. They can fresh produce. So it is easy to convert and use for an emergency if there was a requirement.
Companies and governments around the world are racing to establish cold chain storage and delivery systems for vaccines, which must be shipped and stored at ultra-cold temperatures and can only be kept in a standard fridge for up to 5 days. Mitchell Courts has applied for international certification by health authorities to handle the imports, adding that it can handle vaccines which need to be kept as cold as -30 degrees. The company will modify its existing pharma unit at its $25 million facility at the airport, adding extra cabinets to hold the vaccines and enhancing security.
Because the pharma place we have now is needed, it's small for the vaccines. When we designed this, we didn't have in mind that an epidemic like COVID would be there and the number of vaccines would come.
The rollout of vaccines is offering a lifeline for some companies that were hard hit by the pandemic. South Africa's health ministry has started issuing tenders to store and distribute shots as the country launched its COVID-19 vaccination drive on Wednesday, February 17th.
Zanzibar's late Vice President Seif Sharif Hamad, popularly known as Maalim Seif, is to be buried on Thursday at his home village in Pemba Island. He died on Wednesday, nearly 3 weeks after his party said he had contracted COVID-19. He is the most prominent political figure in Tanzania to have openly declared that he had contracted COVID-19. Prayers have been held in Dar es Salaam, where he died while undergoing treatment, and the former Tanzanian president, Jakaya Kikwete, was in attendance. Local media also reports that many people in Zanzibar are still in disbelief. On social media, he has been described as a visionary leader who brought unity to Tanzania's semi-autonomous islands. In his own village, many shops remain closed for the better part of Wednesday after news of his death broke. Transport services are also said to be overwhelmed as people are rushing to travel to Pemba to pay their last respect. Still in Tanzania, a top aide of President John Magufuli has died on Tuesday night in the capital, Dodoma. However, the government has not disclosed the nature of his death. According to a statement released by the President's office, Chief Secretary John Kijazi died while receiving treatment at the Benjamin Mpaka Hospital. He was also the head of the civil service. Now, he's said to have died hours after the death of the first vice president of Zanzibar, Seif Sharif Hamad. Authorities in Tanzania have been downplaying the threat posed by COVID-19, with President John Magufuli calling for prayers and herbal remedies to counter the virus. Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has called for a meeting in the capital, Mogadishu, to deliberate the election stalemate in the country. The proposed two-day meeting is to hold on Thursday and Friday to discuss election agreements. Opposition leaders have called for protests against the government's failure to hold elections after his term expired last week. The demonstrations are planned for Friday in Mogadishu, even though the government has suspended public gatherings, citing a rise in COVID-19 cases. Somalia missed a deadline, a December 2020 deadline, to hold elections, but a resolution by Parliament allows the president to stay in office until a successor is elected. But the opposition are accusing Mr. Farmajo of illegally holding power. Well, let's bring in Mr. Chukwuemeka Eze, a senior lecturer of international law at the Nasarawa State University, to discuss more on Somalia's election impasse. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. What do you make of this country's political state with this election stalemate?
Surely the African game is playing out in Somalia. There is no African leader in power that wants to do, except for the few countries that are still practicing democracy, like Nigeria and Ghana. Certainly, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, and many other countries. They've played the African game, power game, and they've succeeded. Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo is playing his jokers, but Somalia is too volatile for such a game. So it seems the state of power manipulation in that country will work against him. So currently, there is a stalemate, just as you have introduced. There's a stalemate in Somalia.
Well, we know President Farmajo's term has ended and, the opposition has vowed not to recognize him anymore. They even accuse him of illegally holding on to power. But now there's a meeting ongoing today and Friday to deliberate on this. What should be the crux of their discussion?
The crux of their discussion is to have a timetable for him to go at the earliest possible time. The 17 September 2020 agreement allowed him to hold an election in December and leave by February 8, December 2020, and if on February 8, 2021, he deliberately refused to conduct an election in December 2020 and waited for his tenure to elapse on 8 February 2021 before calling meeting. I see his action as an afterthought. And the best is for him to just take about 30 days and leave the scene. That is the best thing he can do in the circumstance. There will be need for a transition government that will run for just 30 days and conduct elections. Farmajo is no longer supposed to be in power, notwithstanding the resolution of the parliament. That will hold him only for a while. It will not hold him constitutionally in power in Somalia.
All right then, thank you so much. Mr. Chukwuemeka Eze, Senior Lecturer of International Law at the Nasarawa State University. Thank you for your time on Network Africa.
Thank you very much.
Still ahead on the program. First, it was the Utah deserts in the United States. Now, another metallic monolith appears in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and residents are not too happy about that. We'll give you more details after the break. Welcome back to the program. We're still discussing Somalia, but this time around the food insecurity in the nation. A new UN Food and Agriculture Agency analysis says poor rainfall, flooding and desert locusts are contributing to the extreme food insecurity in Somalia, threatening about 2.6 million people. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric reiterates that more funding is needed to boost efforts in reducing the new food security threats. The report, compiled by FAO's Food Security and Nutrition Analysis Unit and the Famine Early Warning Systems Network, highlights that desert locusts will continue to pose a serious risk of damage to both pasture and crops countrywide. It also cites and forecasts that indicates an increased likelihood of below-average rainfall during the April to June season across most of the country that will further exacerbate food and nutrition insecurity for millions.
On Somalia from the Food and Agriculture Organization, which said today that more than 2.6 million people in the country are expected to be extreme food insecurity. Poor rainfall, flooding, desert locusts are the main contributing factors. The situation could worsen through the middle of the year, barring large-scale and sustainable humanitarian assistance. From July to December of last year, aid reached more than 1.8 million people per month on average in parts of Somalia. This large-scale humanitarian government support helped to minimize the magnitude of the crisis. However, funding is needed and urgently to boost efforts to reduce the new food security threats the country is currently facing.
On Sunday, Niger will be having a presidential runoff election, pitting the ruling party's candidate, Mohamed Bazoum, against former President Mahamadou Ousmane. Bazoum is touted as the heavy favorite to succeed outgoing Mahamadou Issoufou, whose policies to combat Islamist violence and widespread poverty he has vowed to continue. Now, both candidates have focused on security on their campaign trail. Twice the size of France, Niger touches two of Africa's deadliest conflicts, one near its western border with Mali and Burkina Faso, and another near its southeastern border with Nigeria.
Former Niger President Mahamadou Ousmane has a tough race to run on Sunday, February 12th, when he faces the ruling party's candidate, Mohamed Bazoum, who has the backing of the incumbent president and also the third and fourth place candidates in the first election. In the province of Tillabéri, hit hard by a series of Islamist attacks, Ousmane, who was president from 1993 to 1996, promises to restore security, hoping to make advances by promising change in the face of intensifying attacks by militants.
It is well known that the current authorities have resigned from their duty to ensure an appropriate response with communal means against the armed banditry that endures in our country. They have also exposed our valiant defense and security forces. as well as the civilian population in these regions, to a generalized and permanent insecurity.
Ainsi que la population civile de ces régions.
On the other side of Sunday's race is Mohamed Bazoum, who has vowed to continue his predecessor's policies to combat Islamist violence and widespread poverty.
I have come with a program which takes into account all the Nigerians, and I ask for your votes. This program is of a value of 13,800 billion CFA to be spread between different priority sectors such as security, access to water, asphalting roads, and getting electricity to towns and villages. I also focus on agriculture and access to healthcare for the well-being of the population.
Whatever the outcome, the vote is expected to mark a watershed for Niger, which has experienced 4 coups since gaining independence from France in 1960, by leading to its first transition of power between 2 freely elected presidents. Unlike his counterparts in Ivory Coast and Guinea, who used constitutional changes to extend their tenures last year, President Issoufou is stepping aside after 2 5-year terms. While Bazoum has pledged continuity with Issoufou's policies and even hired Issoufou's son as his campaign manager, Ousmane has criticized the government's record, especially on matters of corruption.
With oil revenue in sharp decline, Algeria's government is trying to tackle its high import bill by producing more goods at home. To reduce spending on foreign food, it wants farmers to grow more bananas and has offered inducements for them to do so.
Faced with dwindling energy revenues and costlier imports, Algeria's government is turning to farmers like Mostafa Mauzouzi to help narrow its trade gap. So the government has lent him a hectare of land on the condition that he uses it to grow bananas. Mauzouzi, who already owns a tomato farm, has built greenhouses and has already harvested a banana crop on the new land near the Mediterranean coast.
Between 120,000 and 150,000 tons of imports, the equivalent of $200 to $220 million. We will arrive at 160,000 tons of bananas in 5 years. We will largely exceed our needs and what we consume.
Mauzouzi says bananas earn more for him than other crops because mostly imported fruit is more expensive. He plans to create an association for banana producers and wants the government to develop the crop more widely along the coast.
Gradually and not directly, we can reach self-sufficiency and we can stop importation within 5 years. How? The first year, we can produce 50 hectares in 14 cities, which makes it 700 hectares, 50 per city. 700 hectares in the first year, and we will double it in the second year.
For Algeria, an OPEC member that failed to develop its non-energy sectors before oil prices fell, the need to push the state-controlled economy to produce goods it currently buys from abroad is growing even more urgent.
And as we end the program today, a metal structure that mysteriously appeared on a roundabout in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been destroyed over fears about its origins. People in the central Kinshasa stoned and torched the 12-feet triangular prism that looked like other metal monoliths that have cropped up around the world over the last few months. It had begun to draw selfie takers, which fueled rumors on social media. Some residents say they feared it was satanic or was put there by aliens or by a secret cabal. Speculation over the pillar, which appeared in the Bandal neighborhood over the weekend, became frenzied on Wednesday. Now, this kind of monolith started popping up last year, the first one in Utah, in the United States. Earlier this month, a similar structure measuring 3 meters was found in Turkey near the Göbekli Tepe UNESCO World Heritage Site with an engraving in Old Turkish script, but it had disappeared few days after it was found. Now, last December, a shiny metal monolith also vanished from Romania's mountainous Nipt country 4 days after it suddenly appeared. well, Africans need to know where exactly it's from. That's the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.